Welcome to Repertoire Wednesday with my dad, Dr. Joel Tranquilla.
Thanks, Everett. Today we're going to take a look at The Maple by Garrett Krause, and I'm joined by my good friend and CCC Artistic Director, Julia Davids, to discuss the music. The Maple was the winner of the CCC's composition competition, which marked Canada 150 back in 2017. The text of the piece comes from an iconic Canadian author and poet, Charles G.D. Roberts. And this poet really helped to express what Canadians were feeling in the early days of Confederation.
Some of the things to think about are where are the important text words and what measures and what groupings of rhythmic notation are pulling towards or away from those important words, especially the nouns and their verbs in this piece are so expressive in the poetry. And Garrett's really written that into the music. And I think it's really one of the things that makes this piece exceptionally fun to sing and engaging and interesting. It's not especially technically difficult in some ways, but capturing the right combination of tempo, of pulse, of what the conductor is going to show and what the singers need to be able to subdivide and perceive on their own is really what I think is at the heart of making this piece seem so easy in its expression.
The moments that I really am drawn to in this are basically text painting moments. Breathe delicately when you can absolutely, as a singer, approach that in a delicate way. Brush the sky with the soprano line that sort of builds higher and higher. And the effect that Garrett uses just on the word glow, which again just paints the word. So this really grew to be one of my favorite pieces, I would say, on our program in recent years. And it's featured on the CCC album Seasons of Life and Landscape, which you can check out at www.canadianchamberchoir.ca by clicking Media. So, Julia, what maybe is a favorite moment of yours in this piece?
The place maybe that I would say is the maybe peak or passionate apex of the piece with the towers of flame from afar proclaim the advance of winter's legions as the sopranos go up to that high G and we come into this extraordinary harmony in measure 49 and then that measure that Garrett has built in of silence to allow us to process that pivot of the season and then back to the return of the beginning material motivically. That's a pretty awesome spot, but really even especially the finish of the piece, it's so simple and so eloquent that we come back to the maple and that it has a comfort, and that I think especially for myself, because I've lived outside of Canada for so long now, that it is this beacon, it's this beacon of home. And maybe it's simple, but it's lovely, and Garrett sets it in that very simple, expressive way.
Well, I think the way that this and several of the pieces that we recorded on this album in particular speak to that connection to nature, that connection to just whatever the experience is that we relate to as being home or that sense of comfort. And even in something as simple as being in amongst trees, the way that nature can be so amazingly turbulent and exciting and powerful, and yet those moments that are so still and serene. And it's really a beautiful marriage of those elements maybe, or it evokes some of those experiences, certainly. I think measure 72 is probably my favorite moment when I sing this, because it always just feels quite emotional, and it's just and oh to be near it. And I think about what it is like to recall a moment from childhood where you're just outdoors, you're just in in amongst nature, and it can be something that just brings that innocence and that amazing sort of sense of nostalgia right back.
Watch out for that C natural in there. Is really tricky to tune just right. It's going to feel wrong when it's right. And then the resolution is this energy that's always there simmering below the surface in nature. This little bit of roughness of the bark or the crispness of the leaves is there in that second to last chord. And then it relaxes. It's absolutely amazing.
This piece is published by Cypress Choral Music, and it is part of the Canadian Chamber Choir series for accomplished choirs. For details on how to order this music and to check out more great repertoire, be sure to visit cypresschoral.com. The CCC Series is one of several great collections curated by outstanding Canadian choral conductors. Huge thanks to Julia for joining me today. See you next Wednesday for more great Canadian repertoire.
Thanks for listening.